If you are in the fiber arts world on Instagram, maybe Facebook, you've probably seen testing calls. There are testing calls everywhere for crochet and knit patterns, but what does that mean? What are testing calls? In this video, we're gonna go all over what testing calls are, what they mean for you being a tester, and then we're also gonna look at it from the other aspect of what does a testing call look like for a designer. I am a pattern designer myself, and I think it's crucial that we all abide by specific rules when we're testing. My name is Hunter May. I'm the owner of May Crochets. I design crochet, Tunisian crochet, and knit patterns myself, and I run a lot of testing calls. So I have been running testing calls for about 3 years now, and I've kind of perfected how I do it. So in this video, not only am I going to give tips on how to find testing calls if you want to be a tester, but also I'm going to give tips on how to run testing calls if you are a designer. I've got all of my notes on my phone, so let's go over everything. First, we're gonna talk about what is pattern testing. Pattern testing is crucial when selling patterns. So imagine you buy a pattern on Ravelry and you start working on it and the math is wrong, or you finish the garment and it just doesn't fit you. That sucks. That sucks a lot. We're people, we make mistakes. So testers are amazing to make sure that those mistakes are getting caught before people are buying them and having a bad time. Pattern testers are essentially a group of people that they get the pattern from the designer for free, they make the pattern, and they come back with feedback. And as designers, pattern testers are so crucial. Like I mentioned, you don't want someone to buy your pattern and be disappointed because they're not gonna come back for more patterns. They're probably not just gonna like you. They're gonna find some other people. There are so many people out here. You wanna give everyone the best chances of liking you so they come back, because that is the whole point of having a business that sells patterns. You want to make sure it's the most user-friendly, that people are understanding the pattern that you're selling, and yeah, just not being full of errors, because no one likes working on a pattern and finding issues in it. I feel like we've probably all been there, and it really is annoying and really sucks, especially if you bought the pattern. So not only do I run testing calls, but I've actually been a part of many different testing calls for other designers where I have tested their patterns. I really like doing this because, one, I love getting free patterns from other designers and being able to like talk directly with them and make a connection. But also I love to see how they run their testing calls so I can improve my own. I like doing theirs, see how they run the testing call, how they have the application form set up, how they communicate with all their testers, and I take note of what I liked and what I didn't like and try to implement that in my own. There are so many different ways you can find testing calls for patterns. Where I usually find mine is I will find a designer that I really like. I usually follow them on Instagram, and they always post their testing calls on Instagram. Along with that, a lot of designers also have a newsletter sign up where you sign up for their testing call notification, where when they have a pattern to be tested, they're gonna email you saying, hey, apply for my testing call. You may or may not get chosen. That's another thing to talk about when being a tester. There's no guarantees you're gonna be chosen. So it's basically, you fill out this application form and then the designer will go through and pick out as many people as they need to test whatever pattern it is. And you may or may not be in that pool of people. I have a few tips to help in being chosen to be a tester, but there is no guarantees. Being a designer myself, we get sometimes so many signups and you wanna pick everyone, but you can't. You need a small amount of people, but some tips to get chosen is have really nice photos. I wanna see pictures of your cute self on your Instagram profile. That way I can see who I'm talking to. And if I am doing a testing call for a garment, say, I'd love to see other garments that you've made in the past and you modeling with them on in your Instagram pictures, because that just tells me what pictures you're gonna provide back to me as a tester. Don't be private. that kind of goes without saying. You gotta be public so people can see your pictures. I never look at follow count, and if anyone is looking at your follower count, they're not gonna be a good person to test for. I don't know if this is a hot take, but if you see a testing call that says tag 3 friends and comment and share to be a tester, don't do it. Do not do that testing call. It's weird. I don't like that people do that. It doesn't make any sense. Being a tester should fully come from your technique, your abilities with the craft. Like, are you a good crocheter? And also with testing calls, like specific patterns, you may want different experience levels. So not even that is the case. But if you're having to share and tag people, don't do it. It doesn't make sense. It's somewhat unfair, and it's just a way for them to get their testing call promoted, which I understand starting out, it is hard to get your testing call pushed out there, but there are so many other avenues to go besides promoting it in that way. It just feels gross and icky to me, and I don't like it. Going into the feedback required for a tester, just the expectations that you have when becoming a tester. This is kind of more specific on my side. Other designers may expect more. I would say that you should watch out to make sure that you're not finding a designer that has crazy expectations. There's a balance. Testers are doing a favor for the designers. I would say like 98% of designers, which I could be wrong, don't pay their testers. So it's been a very big favor sort of relationship. It's not like there's a contract being written between the two people. You're not getting paid as a pattern tester. The benefits to you are you get a free pattern, you get somewhat one-on-one time with your favorite designer, which I have done that in the past. I'm specifically wearing this vest from someone that I loved testing for, and I tested specifically so I could like interact with her more because I loved her so much. So that is some of the benefits. You also can, once you get the pattern done, let's say it's a garment, you would post a picture, and what I do for my testers is I have like the collaboration tag on my Instagram. That way whenever you look at my profile, you'll see their actual posts on my profile, which also helps them get reach and get noticed and potentially get followers to help grow their account as well. And that's just super nice because they're also helping me promote my pattern. So it's a really help each other relationship and not a business contract relationship, if that makes sense. Don't think you're gonna come into being a tester and be able to make it a job by any means, because that's not how it works. But the expectations for you when doing a pattern test is that you follow the pattern as written. Don't make any adjustments unless you ask the designer beforehand. You provide detail feedback, what went wrong, what maybe doesn't make sense. You talk about the grammar that maybe needs to be fixed. Don't be afraid to tell the designer what is wrong. You're not hurting their feelings. You're making their product better for people who are buying it. If it's someone you look up to, it's okay to criticize them. In one pattern that I did, I had like 2 documents long of corrections and thoughts and concerns, and there was like a Google Drive where I could see all the other testers' feedback, and everyone else was like, it's perfect, it's great, looks awesome. I'm like, that's not helpful. It's so much better to get all the detail. I was like, there were grammar issues. Every one of the testers didn't catch the grammar and spelling mistake issues, and I did. Like, you guys aren't being helpful testers. This isn't great. And then you have to complete the pattern within a set deadline. And there is a caveat to this of making sure you sign up for a testing call that has a lenient deadline, which will go more into that later when we talk about the expectations on the designer's side. But for the tester side, I would just say, make sure to double check how long the timeline is to get the pattern done. That is an expectation when you do apply for a testing call that you will get done in that time frame. Because I've done so many testing calls, I created a page on my website called testing expectations, and I will link the link down below that just kind of goes over the expectations for the tester versus me as the designer. So what I expect from you as a tester and what you should expect from me as a designer. I'll mention a few things on this list, but if you want to see the full list, you can find it down below. Along with being a tester, the expectations is just that you're going to keep the designer in the loop. If anything comes up in your life that you just think you're not going to be able to finish the testing call, life happens. It's okay. You didn't sign a contract. There are a few designers that will make you pay for the pattern if you do not complete the test in time, which I feel is ridiculous, but other designers do not feel that same way. So if that is a concern to you, don't apply for designers that have that stipulation. But if you do have something come up, you gotta be able to tell the designer what's going on because they're relying on you to test whatever size or that specific thing. Good communication is a really high priority of expectation when it comes to testers. Another expectation is providing pictures of the finished item, whether that be like an amigurumi, just a picture of the finished result, or like you wearing a garment. These are helpful in making marketing material for the designer. So I can't make 7 different colors of the same vest and all different sizes. I just don't have time for that. So that's why we have other people make it for us and we are able to use their pictures to promote. And that also helps you as a tester to get people looking at your profile and also potentially getting followers as well, like I talked about with my collaboration. So now that we've kind of covered all of the testers' expectations, we're now gonna go into what does it look like on the designer side. And I'm also gonna be kind of talking to designers specifically here. If you're looking to run your own testing call, I'm gonna go over how I do it specifically and the expectations that I set for myself that I let my testers know. This can also be found on my website. First and foremost is they will be receiving a completed pattern right away. I don't like when people do sections of patterns when the testing call happens. If someone ghosts you and takes your pattern, that sucks. But that was like max maybe $10. And you're not paying them, you didn't sign a contract. Obviously don't pick that person for the next testing call, but don't like put them on blast or anything. And it's just annoying to be a tester that follows the rules and you get chunks of a pattern. I had this happen one time to me. I did not like it because I just thought about what if I wanted to get through this entire pattern in a week? Like, that is possible. In this specific pattern, I work really fast and I had to stop and set it down, wait for the rest of the pattern to be sent out to all the testers to be able to pick it up again, which was extremely annoying. What if I signed up for this testing call knowing I could meet the deadline, but maybe I had a big vacation going on later at the end of the testing call? Well, I knew I could get it done in the first half. If you send it in chunks, maybe now I can't because I had to set it down. That's okay to do, but you have to let your testers know before they apply that that's what's happening. So from me, you'll always get a complete pattern no matter what. Also, I just pride myself on constant communication and quick responses. That same testing call actually that I was talking about before, the person took so long to respond to questions. I understand people have a life, but also when you're forcing people to adhere to a deadline, you need to be a fast responder. And if I have anything coming up that I know I'm not going to be able to respond quickly because of, I will let my testers know. If I go somewhere where I'm not going to have service for a couple hours, I actually text my group chat and say, hey guys, I'm not going to be available for a while, but I will be available around this time. And it's just nice to let people know, that way you're not just ghosting them with questions, because one, you're like the only person to answer the question. Constant communication is super key. It's one of the downsides running a testing call. If you want a chill Saturday that you're not doing much, don't run a testing call, because I've had many days where I've had to pull out my laptop when I wanted to be doing something else to fix my pattern for my testers, but that's what testing calls do, and that's what they are. So another expectation that I give myself, and I feel other designers should, is just understanding people may not meet their expectations. Life happens. Like I talked about in the testers section, life happens, and they may not be able to complete those expectations. As long as people notify you as a designer before the deadline, I think it should be all super lenient. If someone ghosts you after the deadline's already met, that's kind of a different situation, because I've also had that happen to me and it's super annoying. If someone's coming up to you and saying, hey, I have family issues, I'm not gonna meet the deadline, say, that's totally fine, go deal with your stuff. This pattern isn't as important as your family issues. So for me specifically, my deadlines for my patterns are tentative. They're an idea of where I want, but they're not set in stone by any means. So one of my expectations for me is that I will extend the deadline if the majority of my testers aren't getting done or feel like they want the deadline extended, because I kind of just estimate how long my deadline should be, and maybe there are a lot of changes you need to do on your pattern. It took out a large chunk of time that was supposed to be working on the test time. So you never know, be lenient with your deadlines. And on top of that, have good deadlines. If it's a garment pattern, I would say you have to do at least 2 months. When it comes to larger sizes like 5X, it takes a while. It takes a long time, especially depending on the craft. Like Tunisian crochet takes a very long time. So you need to make sure you're giving the most time possible for every single size. That is extremely important. And then the last thing is just, you can't take criticism personally. If someone says something's wrong, confusing, don't think they're coming at you. I think the biggest thing I want to say when it comes to the designer side is you need to respect the tester's time and effort. They're doing a favor for you. They don't owe you anything. You guys have a very specific relationship that isn't normal in other fields. There's no money being exchanged. It's services. It's a weird relationship, and I don't like when designers talk about testers in a way that it feels like they owe them or they won something amazing if they got chosen. Obviously, it feels super nice to be chosen for a testing call, but they don't owe you their life. Everyone makes it weird and crazy, and it doesn't need to be like that. It's just be two normal human beings and respect each other's time, and everything should be okay. You might be wondering how I actually run my testing calls, the specific details about it. So what I do is I create a Google form, and in this Google form, I ask questions like, what's your Instagram username? Because I use Instagram as somewhat of like a portfolio of a tester to be able to see what they're capable of. So I get their username. I don't ever look at follower count. I only look at the portfolio. What pictures are they posting? And I even put in my description that if they haven't posted any crochet or knit pictures, they can create a story highlight that's just called like crochet, and I'll look through that just to be able to see what they've made in the past. Because I'm not gonna pick someone to test my pattern if I haven't seen any crochet that they've ever done, because that's when you get yourself in sticky situations, or you have someone that's like, oh, I'm a beginner and I have no idea how to do this. Also, I ask for their experience, how much experience they have in that specific craft. And then I also have a couple specific things that they agree to, like to allow me to use their pictures for marketing purposes, that they'll complete the pattern, kind of the expectations we've already went over, just a couple of them highlighted through that. Within the Google form, I say when the deadline is, when the estimated pattern release date is going to be. I link my expectations link in the form. All of this stuff is super crucial. You want to give the most information possible for the application process so that the tester knows what you're about, knows all the information of when the deadline's going to be. So once I have my application form all set up, I post on all my social media that I have a testing call and to go to the link in my bio for the form. You have to have the application form open for a few days to get people and keep promoting your testing call. Then what I do is after the testing call's over, I look through the Google form, and what I do is basically I copy people's Instagram username, paste it in, look them up, check out the Instagram page. I'm looking for things like making sure I see crochet or knit items that I think would give them the skills to do the pattern that is being tested. Also, their type of pictures they post. Are they following me? I don't like when people apply for my patterns but then don't follow me. And then I cross people off my list of people who applied until I get to a decent amount of people. Then what I do is I contact everyone that I decided for the testing call, and I double check that they're able to test it for me. And then once they respond, I tell them, sweet, awesome, I'm gonna add you to my group chat of all my testers on Instagram. So I use Instagram for the group chat feature for all my testers. So I slowly add people into the group chat once they agree that they're able to test. Then I have everyone in this Instagram group chat. I don't send the PDF out just because it's easier to send a mass email instead of individual emails until I have everyone in the group chat. So once I get everyone in the group chat, or by tomorrow morning, I will send out the PDF to everyone in the group chat. And then just normal testing call things. So they start making the pattern, they have questions, they all respond in the testing call group chat. That way all the testers know what's going on. If I make changes, I at everyone and say, hey, I'm sending an update and this is what it fixed. It goes pretty smooth from there. Once the deadline hits, I have another Google form that they fill out, and I have like, how many yards of yarn did you use? And then also what size did you make? Any thoughts, concerns, how does it fit? Were there any grammar issues? Things like that. And then also they upload their pictures there for me to put in my pattern listing. So that's a lot, but that's my steps and how I run a testing call. There are so many ways you can do it. I've found that to be the best way so far. I might change it later, I don't know, but that's currently what I'm doing right now. So my tips for running a testing call for the designers is be super organized and proactive. If I haven't heard from any of my testers for a while, I shoot a message out there in the group chat, just, hey, how's everyone doing? Any issues we need to talk about, things like that. And then just be open to feedback and be willing to make improvements. If they're like questioning something, don't make them feel crazy. Be like, yeah, absolutely, that could be wrong. I don't know, let me go check it out. And they feel a lot better to come up with issues if you're taking them in a good way. All right, so that was a whole bunch of information and I hope you followed it. I hope I edit this well enough where it is really easy to follow. If you have any questions, if you're thinking of starting testing calls or want to be a tester, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it helped in understanding testing calls more and maybe even convinced you that you can run your own testing calls. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and if you like the video, I'd love a thumbs up and also subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!